Zeke Meeks versus the Horrendous Halloween. Chapter 5. The Curse of the Cursed Mongrels. The next day I stared at the classroom clock. There was still an hour left before the school costume parade. I couldn't wait to show off my cursed mongrel costume and see what my friends were wearing. Zeke, pay attention. We still have an hour left of class, Mr. McNutty said. I rested my hand on my desk. How could I wait for an entire hour for the parade to start? Mr. McNutty wrote dog, dig, and dug on the whiteboard, and then he asked, which word comes first in the alphabet? I raised my hand. Costume. Costume? I didn't write that word on the board, Mr. McNutty said. Costume starts with a C. C is the third letter of the alphabet. D is the fourth letter of the alphabet. So costume comes before dog, dig, and dug. I look so cool in my Halloween costume, I said. I look so cool in my Halloween costume, Hector said. I look the coolest of all, Owen said. Class, let's get back to the lesson. Mr. McNutty pointed to the whiteboard. Victoria Crow raised her hand. She always raised her hand, and she always knew the right answer. She was the smartest kid in the third grade. She said, dig comes first in the alphabet. Right, said the teacher. Now, who can tell me which word comes last in the alphabet? Vampire, Laurie Schneider said. I'm going to be a vampire for Halloween. Mr. McNutty sighed. We know that. You interrupted the math lesson to tell us that. Yowza comes after vampire. People will yell, Yowza, when they see my totally cool costume, I said. Victoria Crow raised her hand again. Yowza isn't even a real word. She was not only the smartest kid in third grade, but often the most annoying kid, too. Zombie starts with the last letter of the alphabet. It comes after Yowza and vampire. I'm going to be a zombie for Halloween, Charlie said. Charlie lived across the street from me. She was my second best friend. I can't wait to see your zombie costume, Charlie. Mr. McNutty rubbed his forehead. I need some aspirin and a long nap. That's what my mom and Hector's dad both said at the Halloween Super Duper store. Did you go there too? I asked Mr. McNutty. I went there once, a long time ago. I'll never, ever, ever go there again, he said. I love that store. A lot of my classmates said that they loved the store too. Some of them shouted it. I shouted it too. Mr. McNutty sighed again. You kids are too excited about Halloween to learn anything today. You might as well change into your costumes now. Everyone cheered except for Victoria. She said, I was hoping to have an interesting discussion about alphabetical order. I told her, that's impossible. Alphabetical order cannot be made interesting. Mr. McNutty sighed once again. The boys went to the boys' bathroom to change. The girls got dressed in the girls' bathroom. Hector and I were the first kids to get into our costumes and return to the classroom. I said, I love my cursed mongrel costume, but I wish I was the only kid who had it. I wish I was the only kid who had with a cursed mongrel costume, Hector said. Aaron Glass was finished changing next. He walked into our classroom wearing a cursed mongrel costume. I didn't love my costume very much anymore. And then Danny Ford came in dressed as cursed mongrel. I didn't even like my costume anymore. At least the girls were dressed differently. Charlie wore a great zombie costume. Victoria Crow dressed as a scientist. A lot of girls wore princess costumes. And then Grace Chang, Emma G., and Emma J. walked into the classroom dressed as cursed mongrels. I sighed even more than Mr. McNutty had. Owen Leach entered the room next. He wore a beach ball costume. That got me mad. I told Owen, you said that dressing up as a beach ball was uncool. That's why I returned my costume to the store. Dressing up as a beach ball is uncool when someone else in your class does it too. I wanted to be the only kid wearing a beach ball costume. And now I am. Owen smiled at me. I frowned at him. I bet you guys will love my costume, Rudy Moore said from outside the classroom. I'll love any costume that isn't another cursed mongrel, I replied. Rudy Morse walked in. I did not love his costume. I did not like his costume. I despised his costume. He was dressed as an ugly, red, and very scary beetle. I tried not to scream. My costume matches Cuddles, my pet beetle. Cuddles? I shivered in terror. Zeke, I'm glad you're shivering with excitement. You must love Cuddles too. He's such a great pet. And then he reached into the pocket of his red, ugly, and very scary beetle costume. He took out a red, ugly, and extremely scary live beetle. He held the beetle in front of my face and said, Zeke, tell Cuddles you love him. Give him a big kiss. I did not tell Cuddles I loved him. I did not even tell Cuddles I liked him. I did not give him a big kiss or a small kiss or any kiss at all. Instead, I ran away. I stopped near a classroom of kindergarten kids. None of them wore cursed mongrel costumes. But 5 of those little kids were dressed as beach balls. Owen Leach was wearing a costume that was popular with kindergarteners. I smiled. Ah!